Hello, my name is John, and today we'll be reading There's a Good Reason People Hate the Media by Derek Hunter on Townhall, September 12th, 2019. On Tuesday morning, the liberal media was in a tizzy. National Security Advisor John Bolton had been fired or resigned. It didn't matter which, there was a shakeup in the Trump administration, and these Democrats with press passes were ready to pounce. But honestly, who cares? It was just the latest example of the disconnect between what leftist journals think is important and what the audience they seek to proselytize to care about. The American people aren't watching. They aren't interested. Who cares if Bolton was fired or resigned? That he's gone now is all that matters, and that only matters to a very few. The opening left by Bolton will be filled by someone else, and life will continue. By next week, fewer people will remember this than care about it now. The Bolton exit is the latest stop the presses moment from an opposition media desperate to find something, anything with which to damage President Trump. You name it. The resistance media has tried to spin it into something. Remember Robert Mueller? Seems like forever ago when he was granted sainthood by Democrats and billed as David against the Trump Goliath. But it was only April when his report exposed journalists as frauds. His mentions on cable news dipped, and the narrative switched from Russian collusion to obstruction of justice. The obstruction gambit didn't take either, so Democrats rolled a confused Mueller out of what felt like convalescence for what they hoped would breathe new life into both narratives. In two hearings that came off more as elder abuse than anything newsworthy. Now, mentions of this slayer of Trump have faded to almost nothing. Promises were made, reality had different ideas. A study by the Washington Free Beacon found, after mentioning Mueller an average of at least 3,398 times a month on its airways over the past 26 and a half months, MSNBC broadcasts only mentioned his name 370 times in August, a decrease of more than 89%. CNN's drop was even more precipitous. After his name was heard an average of at least 2,716 times a month over that same period, it fell to 177 times in August, a drop of more than 93%. What happened? He didn't deliver the goods, or at least the goods they wanted, so he's no longer useful. Robert Mueller has become the latest Cindy Sheehan. Remember her? She was on MSNBC and CNN so often during the last few years of the George W. Bush administration that you would have thought she had her own show. The mother of a slain U.S. soldier was the perfect face to put out there to attack Bush in the way that the last threads of standards wouldn't allow journalists at that time to do. Sheehan became the face of the anti-war movement. Every statement she made was reported and taken seriously, no matter how absurd. Once Barack Obama was elected, not only did Sheehan's number get deleted from the phone number of every journalist, the entire anti-war movement ceased to exist. As Obama bombed more and more countries and places like Libya descended into chaos because of it, Cindy's data plan never once approached its limit. She was no longer useful for attacking Republicans. Therefore, she was no longer useful. Maybe she's playing bridge with Mueller in the no longer useful to the narrative home. The table is full. Stormy Daniels is there, ready to be dragged back to Congress for her next attempted resurrection. So is Christine Blasey Ford, still talking like a 12-year-old with low self-esteem and unable to recall details of her own life. Michael Avenatti is there, at least until his criminal trials, showing anyone who passes by all the pictures he has of him at parties with CNN anchors. Anthony Scaramucci, the former White House communications director who spent less time in the White House than the average school group on an official tour, is in the corner mumbling to himself about how fat and unstable the president is. It's a sad lot of people the media have used to try to destroy Republicans, none of which panned out, stood up to even basic scrutiny, or left the impression that they were anything more than unstable props. Journalists wanted to believe them so badly that any standards or common sense were swept away for a bite at that elusive apple. They become the depressed housewife, spending a fortune calling psychics in search for meaning. Just as there is no meaning on the other end of that line, there is no water in these wells journalists continually drill. George W. Bush didn't lie the country into war. The intelligence community, not just here but of our allies as well, had bad information. And Donald Trump, as much as they dislike him, is not a puppet of Putin or trying to make himself richer by instructing the military to stay at his hotels. Everything that has proven too good to fact check hasn't stood up to fact checking once it was reported. What does it matter if John Bolton resigned or was fired? Unless you're Bolton or the president trying to save face in front of people who will never like you, no one cares. CNN just spent a week obsessing over a line drawn on a hurricane forecast map with a Sharpie, for crying out loud. And there will be something dumber they will be reporting by the weekend, none of which will matter to anyone. As the Chucks, Todds, and Brian Stelters of the world lecture the American people about the importance of journalism and the threats to our democracy presented by Donald Trump's critical tweets about their profession, maybe they should find a reflective surface if they want to see the culprit. Maybe they should venture outside their insulated worlds and listen to people who sweat from work, not from the prospect of their work being criticized by Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Glenn Beck, or Mark Levin. There's a good reason journalism polls less favorably than many infectious diseases. They've earned it. All the president and conservatives did was pointed out. This video is a production of the School of the White Crane. Hi, my name is John Brooker. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please share this video with family and friends and on social media. May God richly bless you, my beloved.